Hello, welcome back, everybody. I want you to know this is a live call-in show at 727-8750. I don't want to hear later about questions that weren't asked when you could call in and ask the questions. It's not my position to sit here and drill a candidate for anything. It's you, the callers, that have the rights to call in. We do have some questions, I believe, on that computer thing that Vern's always playing with over there.
Yeah, the social media.
Anyway, we'll go to
social media
Vern.
is very active, and we got a lot of stuff going on social media. So we've got a couple of social media contents in front of me right now, and I think you can take my screen so the people at home can see what I'm looking at here as well. And I need my floor guy to get out of my way. The first question I have is this is on Facebook. This is on local Pahrump, and his name is Ed Karp. It says, ask him if he's into proactive policing or if he's just interested in deputies being purely reactive to situations.
You have to be proactive in law enforcement. As far as my personal accomplishments towards that, we started the crime prevention unit. I was supervisor of that. I initiated with the Sheriff DeMayo the crime analysis in order to try and help predict future crimes and crime patterns and so forth. You can't sit around and rest on your laurels. You have to constantly be out there trying to find ways to better serve the community, stop crime, work with the DA's office and the courts for, I don't want to say more aggressive sentencing, but more appropriate sentencing so we can hopefully stop the revolving door and allow people to learn to be model citizens the first time around so they don't get to keep repeating their mistakes.
Okay. He continues on, and later on he says, I disagree. Most of the folks running for sheriff are political hacks. They're not interested in real policing. They're interested in political power. So it's a statement from him. His opinion.
Can I address that real quick?
Yeah, would you? Go ahead.
Because I've addressed this. Here's my position on my candidacy for sheriff. I'm paid to be trusted, not to be liked. If I win, people have to trust me with their safety and security. They don't necessarily have to like me. I'm not in it for a popularity contest. I'm here to tell people what I believe and what I know to the best of my ability. They either choose to like it and trust me and accept the fact that I will do the best job for them, or they won't.
Okay, and in a minute, I've got some questions for you too. As you know, I'm very close with a lot of the officers, and I mean a lot of them, not just the top brass, but a lot of them I have relationships with, and they've all asked me to ask you questions. Okay, and so and I got some really good inside stuff that I can ask you, but I'm going to be fair about this. But we'll get to those in just a minute. I got another email. This is an email, and this is from Anonymous. They don't want their name mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and cover it up because it is a fellow officer. And his basic question is, your Facebook page says, help us bring ethics and accountability back to Nye County. That's a quote from your website. It says, the statement would suggest that the ethics and accountability doesn't exist there today. Did the agency lose its ethics and accountability after you retired, or was it already gone when you were the area commander in Pahrump for the number of years that you were here?
I can only speak from my personal knowledge. And number one is my ethics and integrity have never been questioned personally. And as far as my personal knowledge, I've never heard of any ethics issues that I didn't direct to internal affairs or to the sheriff, or didn't address myself, depending on the appropriate level of response, until I left. Now understand, everything I'm hearing is third hand and from an outsider's perspective once I left. But yes, essentially since I've been gone, the accountability and ethics and fairness within the department has gone downhill.
We're going to skip the last break of the show, you guys. We're going to take this time to really get into just a few things that I would like to know. And I'm going to start first off with my personal relationship with the Nye County Sheriff's Office. I feel the Nye County Sheriff's Office and KPVM has a really strong relationship. I think there's a real good dialogue going on. I feel as though that the citizens are getting a little ripped off by the timely reactions that the press is needing to know about issues that take place, such as recently a bank robbery that just took place, I believe it was yesterday or the day before. Was it yesterday? It was a couple of days ago, so it was 2 days ago. And in that case, we've got activity, police activity going on, Bill. There's people flying, you got cops going, directions. We're looking for a suspect. Okay, wouldn't it be wise to immediately get a hold of the press and say, we're looking for this guy, he's in town, we know this, this, and this, and to get information back to us as quickly as we possibly can. Now, there's a flip side to this story. You're trying to chase a suspect down. You don't have a lot of time to basically be corresponding with the press. You don't have a lot of time to be dealing with that when you're trying to apprehend a felon who's robbing a bank. But, and I also realize that there's not a lot of money to put a PIC or a public information officer in place. How would Bill Becht handle getting to the media the information that's needed to protect them so that they know to stay away from these areas, so that they know, like there's a shooter that took place down at the corner here at the Best Western, and we had people all over the place. So people are in harm's way. How do you plan on working with the media so that we have firsthand information as quickly as we possibly can and not hours later or days later?
In the case of the bank robberies and things, number one, when available, I've always believed in a good way, exploiting the media and their reach, missing persons, crimes in progress, things like that. If you're available and can get it out on the air, absolutely, I believe in exploiting the resource. As far as trying to establish some contact, I've been looking at using a reverse 911 system. Also, emails where it would spam out to everybody. And all I can do is make the effort to reach out. The positive contact or the contact being established, that link being established. If I've sent it out, I've done my part. It would be up to each individual media outlet to determine where they wanted the contact to go. If you wanted any after-hours emails or all these types of emails to go to, say, your personal email address, so you could get them at 2 o'clock in the morning if you liked, or however you wanted to set it up. But it's got to be a constant thing. It's got to be and it's got to be a useful thing. We've established with some of the media outlets before where they would come up and get criminal reports, the call reports and things like that. And within a very short time, my people are telling me they're responsible for doing them and responsible for getting them to the press. They say the press is no longer coming up. Well, if it's not useful and it's not a valid resource, my people have other things they can do. My people did have other things they can do, and they will in the future. They don't need to do that. But media contact is very important. Community contact is very important.
You have officers who worked with you while you were in the department, and those officers feel as though you personally degraded them, in the sense of, one of the phrases that they gave me was, "'cause I'm the daddy." I don't know. I mean, I say, we all, as guys, I don't know why we say these things, but we do react to employees and other people. Why do you say something like that to fellow officers?
If they're out there doing their jobs and they're doing their jobs responsibly and properly, I don't need to be contacted. When I'm contacted and they're now going to hold me responsible for providing them the direct answers and the direction, then they will do it the way I see fit and to the best way possible. Whether I'm the sheriff, the captain, any supervisor, my deputies never had orders to call me for anything other than for overtime issues and things because of budgetary constraints. They were told to call if they needed assistance. And they would be told that again. If they need help, call me, I'll be glad to give it to them. But since you know the way human nature is, once they involve me and I say to go do it this way or authorize their way of doing it, I'm going to be held responsible in their eyes and in the eyes of if I'm the sheriff, the citizens, or as a captain, in the eyes of the sheriff, because I was involved and I made the decisions.
Bill, these are, and keep in mind, Bill, these are questions that are coming, that have been posed to me, and I'm just bouncing them off. And if I don't, it shows biased. So with you, another one that came to mind was that there's quite a few officers that feel like you're degrading to them and that you are not treating them as a fellow officer, but more of less than an officer. How would that change if you became sheriff? And how do you feel about them saying that about you?
Well, you would have to give me some specifics. I mean, not names necessarily, but some specific instances. Because as we discussed before, I've always demanded excellence. The citizens of Nye County, the people paying my wages, deserve the best we possibly can. If the people aren't willing to put that out, then we're going to have troubles. We're going to have discussions about it. As far as whether they feel degraded, that would be a personal feeling. It's kind of like motivation, but motivation is intrinsic. There is no extrinsic motivators, because it doesn't matter what I offer a person. If that doesn't make that person excited, they're not going to be motivated by it. So if a feeling of being degraded, I can't speak for what I would have said or possibly could have said to degrade somebody.
Mm-hmm. Do you plan on, what would you do different with the department today? I mean, folks at Pahrump, I know a lot about the Nye County Sheriff's Office. There's a lot of wonderful people that are up there. I think they're all great officers, but there's a lot of contention right now within that whole department. And this was in place even when you were there, Bill. So how is that going to change? I mean, there's a lot of people that, there's a lot of friction between the officers and stuff. And how is that going to change? What's going to change under your leadership?
Well, that involves strong leadership. And with my people and the people that answer to me, you're always going to have difference in personalities, differences in opinions. But I didn't have a lot of contention with the people that worked for me.
You didn't have them at that time, or did you not know about it? Because there's been several of them that have come to me, and we'll talk about it after the show. Mm-hmm. But there's been several of them that have come to me and they just said that that they just feel as though you did not take the time to work with them, but you took more of the time to be aggressive at them in their policing. I mean, and I don't know, how you can answer that, if you can.
I just say, because there's no specifics.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is...
And I don't want to give the specifics because it's not the place for it to give specifics.
But again, I have very high expectations for the people in Nye County. I expect high expectations from all the employees of the Nye County Sheriff's Office. All of them. We should be customer service related, professional in our demeanor, respectful, and most of all, hardworking. You're a victim. I don't care whether it's $50 or $5,000. You're a victim, and you deserve the best possible services we can provide.
All right. So, our phone lines are open at 727-8750. Those are the questions that some of the officers asked me to ask him. I did. He answered them. So, Bill, I'll turn it back over to you. And
all right. I'd like to mention to some of these people that through the week I've had numerous people ask me different questions, and oh boy, Bill Becht's going to be on, and they were going to come on and ask you. Mm-hmm. We've been here almost 45 minutes now, 727-8750. I don't know if you don't want your voice on the phone or what, but like I always said, you're the ones that ask the questions, not I. So, if you wish for those questions that I heard through the week being asked to be answered, this is your opportunity. Don't say you never had the opportunity. KPVM, Channel 46, and Vern has given us this time at their cost for everybody to meet the candidates and ask those questions. And I just can't believe that you can come up to me and say all these things, and then yet you won't call me in. But anyway, I guess that's life in the big city, Yep. But how about a citizens committee to look into things such as any type of internal affair things or something?
Yes.
Yep. There's also an email that comes in.
I'll call an email now.
So you can either do the call or email. Just let me know what you want to do, Bill.
Okay. Well, we'll go to the email first because the caller's question isn't up yet. So.
Okay. Very good. Bill, although we appreciate not us name calling, there are numerous people that are out advocating Rick Marshall and his ethic issues and numerous issues of morale problems. You are the sole candidate running for sheriff that has worked closely with him over the last years. As first-person witness, would you say it is accurate that they are ethical or moral issues surrounding him? not name calling. We are just asking for facts from someone who works closely with him. Thanks, a girl by the name of Sierra.
Yeah. I'm not going to address that in the fashion that the question is asked. I will say that Rick Marshall and I have different beliefs and different belief systems in place.
Okay.
Okay.
Because otherwise, there's no way getting around trying to grade him. I'm not going to do that.
And that's the thing. I mean, we can get. I agree. We can get folks in at home. It's just some of these questions are loaded, and this is a
right. And I'm not going to fall prey to that.
Yeah. Okay. We have
Thank
a caller.
you for the question, though.
Yeah. No problem. We have a caller. Her name is Amy. How officers approach the public. So, Amy, you're on the air with Bill Becht. Go ahead.
Yes, it's been said by a lot of people that the officers are really too hands-on when they stop a person and arrest them, including throwing older women down on the ground and those kinds of things. What would you do to help these officers behave more like public servants rather than just the police?
That's it.
Again, that's part of the platform. The principle of my platform is professionalism, respect, integrity, dedication, and excellence. And part of the goals for professionalism and respect, they're kind of intertwined. I believe that for an agency of our size and our technical facilities, our infrastructure, we have very good technical skills as far as investigations and so forth. The officers need some reinforcement and some retraining in what I call affective training. In other words, behavioral modification, things like that, on how to address people, how to work with people, showing proper respect, because there are times, situational. One day you might deal with someone as a suspect, the next day they may be a victim. Each situation requires addressing them in a different fashion. In turn, nobody should be delusional enough to think that there aren't times where use of force is necessary. And that's where, as we were getting to discuss before the phone calls came in, I'm going to implement a citizens review board for critical incidents and use of force and other citizens' complaints, as well as a citizen liaison that if somebody calls in, I'm not immediately available. They don't get to talk to an officer because all my officers should be emissaries of the office.
Right.
If they don't trust Bill Garlow as an officer, why would they call somebody else as an officer because they're labeled as citizen liaison?
Right.
It will actually be a citizen volunteer who can speak for them to me later on at a later time, or if they choose not to speak to me directly, they can speak through the citizen liaison.
But public information, see, this is why I brought this up, is because, like the caller, she mentioned something about some elderly lady being thrown on the ground. Well, if you have a citizens committee and they come out and say, well, this did happen or it never happened, the public is more likely to believe, because if a sheriff says that, everybody's going to say they're covering each other up, they're backing each other up, they're covering up for each other.
And
the
I had that
citizen
question.
says, I know for a fact that didn't happen, so then that way, but.
And I had that question come up the other day at talking to a group, and the one gentleman was saying, you can't involve the citizens in sheriff's office business because they don't understand. Well, the only way to combat the whole we're corrupt, we're covering things up, or the sheriff's office is covering things up, the sheriff's office is corrupt, is to involve the citizens and provide that transparency so that we can hold up the group of people, outside people. My idea for my citizen review board is 2 volunteers randomly picked out of a hat. They've applied and stuff like that, and they passed the background. But they will go with 2 volunteers picked out of a hat, a member from the DA's office if they'll participate, the employee, member of the Employees Association, and another deputy that will sit down and they will review the investigation. They're not an investigating body. They'll review the investigation and come up with the results based on that. If they need more investigation done, they'll refer it back. But yes, they're not an investigating body.
I guess with that same question, how the person brought it up about, okay, I'm not trained to be a sheriff, so how would I know? Well, the thing is, I'm not trained to be a juror either, but I could be selected on a jury and convict somebody. So I would believe that a citizens committee would be the utmost protection, because if the people can't believe the citizen, now I'm not saying like your son would be the citizens committee or something.
No.
It would have to be somebody outside of the political scene and everything.
Everybody would be random. Like I said, that's to pass a background, because you can't have criminals, ex-felons, necessarily sitting on that board because they could be skewed. But if you have John Q. citizen who has had no law enforcement experience, positive or negative,
Right.
and he can pass the background.
Yeah. So
He would sit on it. And like I said, my view is a pool of 10 to 12 throughout the county, a pool of employees. The DA's office representative would probably be the same because he'd be like the one making sure everything was fair and consistent. That would be his job. But everybody else would come together for this sole purpose to look at this one case, right?
Right.
And through a fluke, they may come back together exactly like that again, but everybody's names come out of a hat, so what are the odds that they would all come back to ever sit again? That way you avoid any accusations of good old boy or cronyism, everybody getting together and deciding things, sitting down for a beer or a barbecue beforehand. That's all taken off the table.
Right. Well, see, I hear that stuff all the time, and there's people where they will say something to me negative about anybody in politics, especially the sheriff's department, and I'll say, can you prove that to me?
Right.
Can you show me that? I'm not going to go on TV, or I'm not going to go on in the newspaper. I'm not going to go around the meetings and announce such a thing unless I have the absolute proof sitting in front of me.
Yes.
To back it up, And so, like I said, if anybody had asked me a question about citizen committee, because I've always believed that the best way to get out to the citizens is to have somebody they could talk to, that they can't say you're covering it up for him or so, and if I could be a juror, I guess I could be on the other,
right. And to the credit of the administration, and for my tenure there, right. I don't know what's been going on lately because obviously I'm not in anymore. But CCSC had for several years offered a $5,000 reward, if I remember the number correctly, for anyone that could prove corruption by any Nye County official. How many people do you think have made that claim, have filed for that claim?
None. Yeah,
None.
0. All right.
Right? So if everybody's corrupt, where's it at?
Right.
Yeah.
We have another question from Facebook. This is on our Political Hot Seat site, and if you're not a member of our Political Hot Seat site, you should join the Political Hot Seat webpage, Facebook. This one, Bill Becht. How do you plan on motivating employees? Do you plan on using the current negative reinforcement policy, or will you be willing to reward officers that work hard?
I've always believed in rewarding hard work, and you can ask the officers that work hard. I don't show favoritism. I don't pull punches. They work hard. They work hard for the people in Nye County, and they work for their money. And yes, I do believe in that. Testing has its place, but to rely solely on testing and not consider job performance is a problematic, because there are some people that do very well testing and have no motivation or common sense street experience or common sense, and they actually do the job poorly. They just test well. So for advancement and things like that, it has to be a whole package, a complete package for them.
Okay. Let me. If you're at home, there's 3 ways you can participate. 727-8750. The phone lines are open. The email is PHS, the initials for Political Hot Seat, at kpvm.tv, or local prump. You can do local prump or Political Hot Seat. So those are both Facebook pages. So those are 3 ways. You've got Facebook, email, and phone lines. Phone lines are open. Bill Garlow.
Well, once again, we get back to it. They asked about proactive and that, a deterrent is most of all. But here in Nye County, because of the mileage and everything, people need to know that if you're calling up about the neighbor's dog barking at your cat, that doesn't come in priority to somebody that was in an accident or a robbery someplace, and they may not get a response.
Correct. Resources have to be prioritized.
And I believe that the sheriff's office needs to get out more and let people know that, okay, you think this is a priority to you, but for somebody else, we got a list of what goes on here. Correct. Like the bank robbery is probably a top priority, especially if they're armed. I don't know if they were or not.
And that's just a matter of when people call, answering their questions openly and honestly, and again, in response to Vernon, as quickly as possible. You know, if somebody says it took them 6 hours to show up, I would look into it in the past and be able to provide them an adequate answer on what we were doing, or say, I'll have to get back to you. You know, it's a very simple process, should be.
Well, yeah, that's why I think here in Nye County, I've heard so many things. And of course, like I said, there's a lot of people I know that I don't know where they get their information from, but they seem to know everything until they're questioned about it. But it's a matter of, we are so large, so many miles, so much distance, and that lone sheriff up there, up around Gavs or way up north there, and that, I am sure he cannot get back to everything, you know.
Unfortunately, his population and his call base is smaller.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing too that I firmly believe in is, if I'm elected, I'm the sheriff of Nye County.
Right.
Which means that once a month, I will have a personal presence in each area of the county. Gabs, Smoky Valley, those areas, because Front may be the largest population base, but that person in Gabs, that I'm their sheriff, I'm their elected representative, or elected law enforcement representative, they need to know they can see me and talk to me face to face and so forth. So.
All right, I understand there's going to be a sheriff's debate at the Nugget.
Yes, sir,
on May 6th?
Yes, 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, I was going to say, do you know what time it is?
Yep, 6 p.m. Yes, sir. Yes.
And you're going to be there, huh?
Yes, I've already contacted Karen Jackson and told her I'd be there. Yes.
Okay, so that sounds like, you know, for the people out there, and that will be a sheriff's debate, and that's on May 6th. After the primary, and I don't know who's going to make it or who's not. I'm not even going to predict it, but after the primary and that, I've been talking to Great Basin College about setting up a thing to maybe get some younger people involved into this.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say, hey, I got a really quick question, if you can answer it really quick. What are the policies for the relatives being hired in the sheriff's department, including dispatchers? It came in Facebook. So basically they're asking, what are the policies for relatives being hired at the sheriff's office?
The nepotism is such that it's not a policy violation. There's no direct supervision allowed. In other words, a deputy couldn't work for a sergeant who's in I believe the 3rd degree of consanguinity.
Okay.
So otherwise there is none. And that I've seen, nepotism is not a problem, because nepotism is an act of favoritism. It's not just necessarily the hiring of a person within that realm. You know, that's what it's labeled, but it's not necessarily, that doesn't create nepotism. Nepotism is a conflict created when there's special favors or
Gotcha.
inferences given.
Okay, we're out of time. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you being on the
Thank you,
show.
sir.
Bill Garlow, you have 10 seconds.
Thank you.
Oh,
Good luck
you,
on your
appreciate
campaign.
your help.
And
Appreciate
we
your
will
time.
see you next Thursday night live with a call-in show. Everyone have a great weekend.